But how are you doing now? Are you on vacation this week?
No, I have one more week of work and then it's my spring break.
Same here,
Oh, really?
but I'm
Oh,
taking a 6 weeker.
what does that mean?
I'm getting surgery
Are you
Wednesday.
going to do it? Wow.
Finally,
It's only a year late. Is that right?
year and a half, year.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. It is pretty. I was supposed, 'cause I took a year off. I was supposed to cover for him, and
yeah.
he just a year ago, a year and a half ago, and then the year elapsed,
Oh my
and
To
gosh.
be fair,
I,
I was also a slow walker, so I've done a lot of things slow.
you're just slow.
Ay, ay, ay.
Uh,
All across this country, kids are not being taught how to read the words. This is a misunderstanding that has to be exposed, that the system works for most kids and it's those few that fail. And that's a lie.
Hey there, welcome to Pod and Deliver. Tonight we have a special guest, Penny Wolf. Penny is going to share in a moment a little bit about herself, but I just want to let you guys know we're going to actually look at a film today. It's actually a documentary titled "The Truth About Reading." This is a 2024 film directed by Nick Manton. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing it right. And Penny Rubin, I watched this film first. I think I was blown away by the actual trailer. I think I told you that, Penny. And I'm like, what the heck is this? And then I started watching it, and I almost cried, Ruben, in the first 2 minutes. It's so uncomfortable. You see these individuals who are talking about, they're adults, I should say this. They're adults, and they're talking about them not being able to read, but they're not even able to get the words out because it's so hard. And can you imagine? Have you ever heard people say, "Oh, that man's so brave," or "She's so brave"? And I was thinking, these people are brave to go out there, right, Penny, to say, "Hey,
yes.
I can't read. I don't know how to read." But Penny, before we even go on, and I'll share some more things, and then I'll let you give us your perspective on the film. Can you let our audience know actually who you are and what you teach? When I say who you are, like you don't have to tell us the school, but what you teach, and then how long you've been teaching?
Well, I'm an elementary school teacher. This is my 29th year.
No.
I've taught, yeah, it goes by fast. I've taught at the same school. It's a low socioeconomic school, high level of English learners. I've taught second through fifth grade. I've been in fifth grade now for, I think it's almost 15 years. And to be honest, I only bring up second grade because I think that has a lot, that really affected my perspective of the documentary, teaching reading.
Mm.
But that was about 20 years ago. So that I taught second grade. But yeah,
But you're still working with young people because I'll tell you
yeah,
something, Penny. As I watch
yeah.
this, I'm thinking about myself as a teacher.
Mm-hmm,
And this last week, I asked some of my students to read because my
mm-hmm,
throat was rasping. A lot of times, I like to read, so I want them to hear proper.
mm-hmm.
Wanted to hear them, proper enunciation and also, how words should be pronounced. So anyway, I did that, and boy, I was looking at the seniors who are graduating in a couple months,
Mm-hmm.
and some of them were struggling. I'm like, oh my God. And I don't want to make them feel bad. I always encourage them, like, oh, good job, thank you for sharing. But in my back of my mind, I'm going, uh-oh, these uh,
Mm-hmm.
these kids are not, and especially after watching this documentary, I'm realizing a lot of them are not at grade level. And I think those are
So
some of the
this
things that came up. You're gonna say something, Ruben?
so this documentary is about people who've gotten lost in the system, right? And they are
Yes. That's a big
considered
part of it, right?
considered illiterate, and as adults, they're trying to go back to learn how to read.
Yeah, and not only that, I think it's a big part of this movie is to say, hey, a lot of you as teachers, educators, I think they're also speaking to superintendents that, hey, maybe we need to change things. We're teaching it, but we're not teaching it right. We need to be a little more scientific. We need to look at because I think a lot of times people are really into phonics, right, which is fine, but there's also, hey, why aren't we looking at other pieces to it? Like let's learn how to comprehend the whole piece, right? What's that word? I'm trying to think of that word, Penny. It was when you look at when you're reading a document.
Comprehensive.
Is it comprehensive? Is that the word? But yeah, and so just these strategies besides phonics to bring them in to assist these students to do well. And so at one point, I like this one teacher said, "Hey, yeah, it's kind of funny when first you're learning about okay, maybe getting it wrong, but But once you learn it, you need to move forward, and you need to now it's on you. And so like I feel like something was put on me after this film. I feel like I had a responsibility. I said, "Oh, I just can't live my life exactly like I did before. I need to move forward and really be conscious of these students and help them move forward." The ones who were like I shared, the ones that were struggling this week, I go, no, I need to invest in these kids because I think it's wrong. Like this one young lady was sharing that she went to a Sunday school class, and that lady who was teaching the Sunday school class is a teacher, and she knew she was struggling, and she did not do anything about it. And as teachers, all three of us really, we have responsibilities to help. So now we can't save the whole world, I know, but the ones that are in front of us definitely, and if they're going to your church, talk to their parents. So there's so much to talk about this, and we could, I'll go back and share some things that else I like, but I thought is well done. I really wasn't ready for it emotionally though. It really hit me hard. I just, one of those films where you just sit back and go, what did I just see? I'm like, what did she make me? But I was thrown off a little bit though, because you mentioned to me that none of your friends had seen it yet, and I thought,
No,
we should
everyone I've encouraged, I'm like, you should watch this. It's so interesting. I want to know what you think. Because there's so many different facets though, and there's so many different perspectives that you can have when you watch it, just you personally, or you as a teacher, or you as a parent, or there's just to me, there's so many different perspectives on it.
Well, with that, tell us, I mean, it's whenever we review a film, we give us, we give the positives and maybe some things they could have done better, but and I really share that. I definitely give my approval. But why did you like the film?
Did we give the title yet of this film?
The Truth About Reading. I said it.
Okay.
2024. But Penny, with that though, I mean, there are several things I'm sure, but what are a couple things that you think, wow, this is something that's going to stay with me?
Okay, so I brought up that I work in a low socioeconomic school because the one thing that really hit me, which wasn't even really the point of the documentary, I think, was I've, as a teacher, been really concerned that parents don't seem concerned when I tell them, hey, your child's in fifth grade, they're reading at a second grade level. And in the past, the response was, oh my gosh, like that's terrible. And then it went into, that's awful. What are you going to do about it, teacher? And then now it's rolling into, oh, okay. And that's it. Like there's not even what's next? It's just, okay, my child's reading second grade, they're in fifth grade, okay.
I think they trust that you're going to take care of it. I think, right?
Or when it doesn't bother them.
Yeah.
Like the people in this documentary were truly bothered. Like you said, they're crying. They kept naming all these emotions like anxiety and depression and guilt, and they're hiding this secret. But I think maybe for a lot of people, it might not be a secret, but it doesn't really bother them.
It really is one of the features of working in an underserved area is parents not showing up for parent conference day or back to school night, or kind of working together. We use the word team when we're doing IEPs, but even if your child doesn't have an IEP, parents should work together with the school to address students with severe learning skill issues. So,
and I don't place it on parents. I don't think it's the parents' fault. Like people are I know we're gonna hear some outrage. Like, don't you know these parents work? They do care. They have so much other stuff going on in their lives, and that is true. But every parent can be concerned.
Yeah. Well, you're right, and it's important you bring this out because as much as I like the documentary and all the things they bring out, most of the things they bring out, it does skew toward, hey, come on, teachers, what happened? What did you do? Now, to the girl in the Bible study, I do want to mention something because I have to also come into the lens of a teacher and what we experience. That Bible study teacher or Sunday school teacher, she might not have known what she was watching too. She said, do you know what you just read? And the girl she said she's walked out of class. She might have just interpreted very differently what she saw. And the idea, well, she never followed up. And I feel like we got to be careful about
Yeah.
not judging people too much. She might, anyway. So
Okay, how about
I
the whole point about the dyslexia, though? I thought that was an interesting piece that so many people say they have dyslexia, and but the reality is a lot of them probably don't know how to read, or can't, they're not literate, maybe past second grade or so forth. Because Kimberly and I were talking, and she had a lot of friends over the years who are who are actors, and a lot of them would say they're dyslexic. Kimberly, maybe they just have a tough time reading, and she goes, I think so, and that might have been part of it. But it's as you get an adult, become an adult, and you've been able to kind of slip by the system a little bit, and you see that a couple of these adults who share that in the film, that they feel even a little bad about it because they've lied. They feel like, well, I've lied, and some of them have done even some criminal activity. But the whole point is that they are lying to themselves, their friends, or family, and then some of them
and
have
to
gotten degrees and so forth.
Yeah.
to make that point, to clarify what you just said, criminal activity in the sense of they cheated in school, and one particular person in school broke in to steal the answer keys or to steal some answers.
Right.
So that it became kind of like this snowball effect where these people just lied their way through into adulthood, faking their way around it. It's incredible to see these people achieve great things, in spite of the fact that they can't read. So that, in a way, says something too.
I
The
mean, there's an
ability.
entrepreneur who made millions of dollars and who got by over the years without having to know how to read. And just to see his and you could tell that it was tough for him to share that he was learning how to read. And then to see him progress at the end of the film, man, that was one of the best pieces of the film. I mean, I'm sorry, we're going to say something.
Yeah, did you get the sense that either of you, that point of the movie where it talked about how teachers are going in not knowing how to address these things, not having been trained on how, I forget the metaphor they used, but it's like asking a surgeon, somebody who's an amateur, go in and work on a body. It's like how do they approach it? And that would be a very helpless feeling, I can imagine.
But like, how much for you, Penny? Like you at your work now, is there like criteria? I mean, I'm sure those second grade teachers you were mentioning, they definitely have things that they have to accomplish. And you saw them in the film. They're told, hey, this is how we teach reading. This is how we do it. Um, are there ways that you could express, say, hey, you know what? I have some other things I could bring into the plate. Are you able to do that? Or maybe they're not able to, they don't feel free to do that. How does that work?
It's really changed with each administration. And I think actually that the documentary didn't really put it on teachers so much as they put it on, like you said, the credentialing program,
Yeah.
but also the curriculum companies. And it wasn't mentioned, probably because the documentary would have been shut down. But to me, a lot of it is political because it's about money, and the big money is in curriculum. So I hope you guys don't get shut down because I'm saying this. This is all my opinion right
Oh,
now.
no.
But I put the fault there.
You're right.
Just like pharmaceutical companies to the medical field, the curriculum companies to education
Crazy money.
Yes,
And,
it's crazy.
and to your point, there's a great scene where a teacher has found great success in her classroom in terms of the reading scores of her students. And an admin approaches her and says, why is it that you're doing so well? Your students are doing so well. And your partner or your curriculum partner, same grade teacher, I suppose, is doing so poorly, or her students are doing so poorly. And her response is, well, you don't want to hear what I'm about to say, but I'm not using the school's curriculum. But the admin was all ears and wanted to know what she was doing. And that is what's really critical, is when you have an admin. Jake and I were just talking about this last week, I think we were talking about the 30 schools in Illinois that do not meet grade level in reading. None of the students in the whole, and 30 schools, not one. But how part of the problem is the admins are not, we always think of, oh, it's the teachers, but so admins filter through this information,
Yeah.
right? It filters through them and they can also stop it. It's up to them with that type of power. And we never think of it like that.
That's what we learned in our program, right, Jacob?
Oh yeah,
Our
for sure.
educational leadership program, that the principal is actually supposed to be the curriculum, I mean the leader,
Not only
right?
the curriculum leader,
The
but also
educational
to
leader.
serve those teachers, right? Is
Yes.
that the servant mentality, but to be the leader. And we don't see that all the time. And like you said, it matters who you have. Because I mentor new teachers, and I'm like, we're very fortunate now. We have a really good team. But I said there have been times where it's like, oh, you
Yeah.
can't even approach them because then you don't know how they're going to respond. But it does come from leadership, and then even the superintendents, like which I like. I
Yeah.
really like how they brought that up. And there are some
Yes.
superintendents who are moving forward with this, but some who are not, right?
Hmm. Hmm. And I think it's a good point that the principal asked, "Why are you doing so well?" Um, a lot of principals will just ask the others, "Why aren't you doing well?"
Mm.
Yeah, right.
And I found that that's more common. How come you're not doing better than let's find out why this person's doing well and let's see if we can implement that. That's to me a sign of a really good leadership.
Yes, I do want to point out a couple of numbers just to give a sense of perspective here. I was thrown by hearing 50% of Americans read at an eighth grade level or less, American adults. And Caribbean countries like Jamaica and
Mhm.
Barbados have 90% literacy rates compared to our very low rates,
And less money thrown at it. So
less than half our budget.
My thought was though, um, do people really need to read above an eighth grade level when everything's written to a seventh grade level? Like most news articles, most whatever you're going to read is written. I think that's what I've heard.
yeah, I
Seventh.
think that's correct.
I thought that too. I thought that
But
too.
but
It's true.
but I think the issue though is I think a lot of people the issue is a lot of these people and at least the ones that were represented in the film are reading at second, third grade
Yes.
level. So that's like way they totally missed it. And not I should say they missed it, but someone really didn't
Yeah.
concentrate on these people. Because and again I don't want to blame the teachers all the time because I'm a teacher, but I think it's a combination of things. Obviously, there's
Well, well,
economic a lot of times and so forth.
Mhm.
yeah, I just think though that the public sees something and they immediately think
Mhm.
poor teachers, but and I agree that there's poor teachers. However, there's another component to it, and we talked about it. We talked about it now. We talked about it last week, and that is the administration's responsibility
Mhm.
to get the information out. And I know that we spend precious hours in PDs, and often teachers just look at each other and think this was a waste of time.
Yeah.
Why did we spend 90 minutes on this when we could have done this as homework, or we could have done this another time, and it could have been 10 minutes, 20 minutes. We could have been sharing ideas, more, effective reading strategies.
Mhm.
So I just think it's our responsibility to bring out the other components that they might not think about.
And I think it's a
Uh,
good idea to bring out in the name of this company that was being kind of showcased. They're called Evidence-Based Learning Instruction,
Mhm.
EBLI. And I think if anybody wants to look at that up, I did search them and I said, oh, wow, they're doing some really great things, obviously. And especially when you saw this gentleman who didn't know how to really read past second grade level. And then you see him learning as the days, I think it was like 5 to 7 days that he's starting to pick it up. And they mentioned that people forget that as you get older, it's actually not that I mean, you can learn how to read because you have
Yeah.
so much to bring to the table, things that you've gone through, things that you can refer to, where little kids don't always have that. And so, to me, I was surprised that he could write, after a few days. I'm like, man, and he was so proud of himself, and you were proud of him. I was like, I'm so proud of this guy, and it was just such an uplifting thing because you know that they had this shame in the beginning of the film, and then you see someone like that just kind of sit up a little straighter.
I think it might be useful to talk about some of the solutions
Sure.
that they brought
Mhm.
out, such as this idea of balanced literacy. If you think about it, it's in a way common sense, but when you're in, so what I mean by common sense is, and I don't mean to like say everybody should know this. It's the idea of you shouldn't weight all your time in one particular skill or one particular strategy. You should kind of bring it all out, all hands on deck. Read alouds, independent reading, group reading, word study. But I think sometimes when you're really close to it and you're in a classroom, you get kind of hung up on phonics. You get hung up on one thing, word study, and that's it. But you have to also keep in mind and take into account you want the students to love to read. And when they're just looking at one thing, who wants to do it? It's just homework. It's just can get very tedious. So I think it's a very important thing, this idea of balanced literacy and the individualized learning that you have to just kind of pull students aside who are really low, really far behind, and work with them. And do you find, Penny, that can be challenging for teachers when they hear that they have to do that to work with, have you seen things like that?
I have. And actually, I was I'm a little confused or not sure if I'm clear on what their message is on that because I am a part of that Facebook group that was mentioned. And so it's just, what can I say? We say balanced literacy,
Yeah.
but really that came from whole language. I mean, whole language and then are linked, and they're very against whole language. It
Right.
is more of the emphasis on the phonics at the beginning
Okay.
stages of reading, but knowing phonics doesn't just have to do with a sound and a letter. There's all those other components that they were talking about that went into phonics. So phonics is just a very broad
Yeah.
word for all those other components that have to be taught. And so I think they would say that all that the love for reading is going to come when the students can do it for themselves. So the
Yeah.
focus really is on phonics at the beginning, which phonics, we would say most curriculums have a balanced literacy approach and they'll have that little phonics component. But what makes, I think, science of reading people would say that phonics component needs to be a lot larger and a lot more consistent throughout the grade levels from pre-K, kinder, first, second, even into third. You should still have that component because I noticed when we really focused on that at my school, we actually, our requests for assessments for special ed went way down. Our numbers were so low. We went down
Oh,
to
wow.
one RSP teacher. And then we
Nice.
brought in a new curriculum that was the balanced literacy, and phonics was shrunk, and it was in response. People didn't like the scripted teaching
Oh,
curriculum
yeah.
that was in the phonics portion. So phonics became a lot smaller, and all the other, yeah, let's love learning, bring in all this, bring out the read alouds, all that was a bigger portion. And there was tons of materials we were supposed to use to go with it. And now we're at an all-time high. I've never seen so many kids qualify for special ed.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Of course, COVID is a big part of that too,
For sure.
but I do think COVID just accelerated it. Our students
But
don't have as good of a foundation in phonics because that portion was, I think, shrunk down.
Yeah. They lost a year and yeah.
And
and then maybe it speaks to this idea of just knowing who your kids are and what they need. It's like, yeah, these students need phonics.
I mean,
The balance needs to be shifted this way into phonics, and then we'll do a little bit of this. We'll have some
and
fun
I
read
think
aloud.
I
You know,
think that's what it is. It's creating, your proportion has to be what kids need. And if you
yeah,
look at how those adults were learning to read, it was all the phonics.
Yeah.
right,
They already had the will to learn,
yeah.
the passion to learn, though they wanted to read. So it was just the phonics, and I think that's a big the phonemic awareness, all of that needs
I
to
mean,
be.
I saw that they had like a several type of strategies, with the phonics, like you're saying, sharing with these adults. And I think, and I was asking myself, because I don't teach second grade or first grade, and I'm thinking, I wonder if they're using when they do teach phonics, because I hear what you're saying, and I've heard people over the years say exactly what you're saying, that some school, sometimes it matters where the pendulum's running. It's phonics is
Yeah.
big, and sometimes it's not. But are they using some of those strategies where they're putting some, the letters together? I thought it was pretty really creative. How to say wolf, but now take off the F, and now what? Yeah, I thought, wow, those are really cool strategies. But then again, is that just this program that's doing it, or I mean, are there schools doing it? So, like you said, I'm sure.
It's required in all curriculum, that we go and look at to adopt. Just how well do they do it, and how well do they repeat these strategies? I think the biggest thing, like if I ever became a principal or educational leader,
That'd be
it would
great.
be, are you spiraling, or are you teach something completely different from grade level to grade level? Students can only learn if you're repeating the same things or using the same terminology with them from kinder all the way through your school. They need to be hearing the same things, same strategies, or else the younger ones won't learn. They have to have that consistency throughout the
I
grade
would say
level.
the older ones too. We have strategies that we push on at our school, and I realize I go, man, I keep saying this, but then I say, no, Jacob, you got to do it because they aren't always listening, for a lot of,
Yeah.
and I always tell myself, even when I teach a lesson, I got to do it 3 times because they ain't, by the third time, hopefully they got it, right? But that goes for these strategies as well, for these phonic, I mean, and it has to be bought in by all the teachers. Sometimes there's teachers like, no, I'm going to do it the way I've been doing it since 1970, and that's where things go right, right? Uh, Penny, as we're finishing up the school year, and do you after watching this, do you ever lose hope, or do you ever like, I mean, even though this was a film that it really pushed me in my thinking regarding what am I doing, but for yourself, do you ever get kind of like discouraged, or maybe it did discourage you, maybe it was more like, hey, this is kind of, encouraged me to do something, or what are your thoughts on that?
It actually encouraged me because it encouraged me in the sense that I want to encourage my kids, like Ruben, you're saying, to love to read. And I realized I really want to encourage them
Mm.
to want to learn to read. That's what I was most amazed at by this documentary, that these adults hadn't given up. They were in the prime of their life or
Yeah,
later,
yeah.
and they still wanted to learn to read. And I've been trying to emphasize to my students why they need to learn how to read for themselves and not rely on text to speech, or not even rely on AI, because I feel like whoever still knows how to read in maybe not even that long from now, there might be a trend where people are encouraged, you don't have to learn how to read.
Well, there's
Just like
so
you don't
many.
need to know cursive, or you don't need
Yeah.
to know this. It might be that you might not need to learn how to read, but how can we
Mm.
trust that what's being read to us is really what's written? And who will be able to read primary sources and really see what was said or what was recorded in history? And the power will be in the people that still know how to read. And that's what it kind of inspired me, honestly,
Wow.
reading
It kind of goes
that.
full circle, right? I mean, there's a time in our history where only the priests read, and
Yes,
and then
yes.
most people didn't, unless you're wealthy or a priest. And now we're getting to that again, where and we saw in the film, there's so many tools out there to help you not learn how to read, to get by without all
Yes.
this AI, right?
Even with the more advanced students. So I teach AP Lit, and even they were asking, why are we read? So we read Macbeth. We just finished Macbeth as a class, and why don't we get to know Fear Shakespeare? That's what they were asking. Not all, a couple of girls, a couple of
Yeah.
students asked, and I feel like I told them, well, you're going to lose the language. You're going to get the paraphrase. You might get what's happening in the play, but you're going to lose the Shakespeare part of it.
Yeah.
And that's a very key component, is the language.
Yes.
And you're going to struggle with it, but you're going to understand it after a while. And they did.
Mhm.
So It's that I noticed that some of the students don't like to struggle.
Oh yeah.
It's more work to have to, oh, we have to do this. But the reward is so great. And it's worth it. It's worth that journey. And if we teach them those little concepts, I think it can be meaningful. And I think you're right. Society is being structured to go the easy route, but are they going to be better at the end going the easy route? So that's a pretty useful conversation, I think, to have.
No, that's great. It sounds like the three of us like the film. We normally, when we do these films, we every so often we will go, Jake, you didn't say if you like, do you like the movie? But yes, I definitely did. It sounds like Penny, you give it your thumbs up, and you do as well, Ruben, right? And just to remind our audience, the film is titled "The Truth About Reading," and it's a 2024 film directed by Nick Norton. And I just want to thank you, Penny. Actually, stay on there with us for a second, but I want to let the audience know thank you for joining us this fine evening. And please watch this film. And if you're a teacher, I think it's a must. And have a wonderful night, and we'll see you soon on Pod and Deliver. Bye bye.